Hey,
And
Diane.
yes, I have a similar to Matt. I have a restaurant who sold for 275,000. I have an offer, and that buyer, she owner of her restaurant as well. And we are open the due diligence, and she checked everything, the bank statement, POS, profit and loss, income tax. And finally, she said no. She decided not to move on. And her reason, because when she looked at the business bank statement, she find out that there is no cash deposit, and she says she doesn't trust the seller, even though I did told her in the beginning the profit we don't make. I mean the restaurant doesn't make any profit and loss is a negative. We told her in the beginning, but she said it doesn't make sense. She kind of worry if she took over the business, even though she know it's a negative. But what if he hiding something? And when I told to the seller why you did not deposit any cash, only the credit card statement, he explained he keep the cash to give the tip to his employee, but she doesn't take it. And after that, last night, the seller asked me, Diane, is there any way I can sell my business without showing any financial? Is it possible? I told him I kind of think difficult because people gonna look at your profit and loss. And he said, still, they look at, I give it to them, but they don't buy it. What do you think, Tanya?
Well, I think that in a restaurant, I mean, there are a lot of restaurants that get sold that are closed. They're just sold as asset sales. They're not even operating. So, but they don't get sold for $275,000. I mean, usually they're going to be sold for somewhere between 30,000
Oh
and
my God.
maybe 75, 100,000, something like that.
Oh,
Sometimes more, depending on the size and the FF&E and everything else. But if he wants to sell but doesn't want to show any financials, then really it's more of an asset sale. You're selling the assets in place, and it can be sold as long as you're not trying to get top dollar for it. But um, you know, when somebody is going to be paying two or $300,000, oftentimes they're trying to get a loan to do that, and the financials are a necessary part of that. And so if the financials don't hold up, or in this case, you said they don't even show a profit. So
yeah.
and the seller is saying the business is not profitable. So if the business is not profitable, then from my standpoint, it's probably overpriced. I would try dropping the price down and see if you can find somebody to come in.
I asked him what is the justify for the asking price, because even if you want to sell as an asset, your equipment is owned. Same to the kitchen, and he said he believed in his lease. The lease is so cheap under market price. I said, well, even that, but it's hard to sell the lease for that price. But
Well, the landlord is going to change that though. So the lease cannot be assigned without the landlord's consent. And if the lease is under market, then the landlord's consent is going to be stipulated on an assignment and amendment to bring it up to market rent. So that lease has no, I've very rarely seen an under market lease that truly had any value whatsoever to a buyer,
that's
because the landlord always, okay, never say always, but the landlord almost always is going to require that the lease be brought up to market rent when they simply won't agree to the assignment. And so if you have a buyer, the only way to get it done is for the buyer to say, okay, I'm willing to accept the higher rent amount. So, but I would say that, if you're trying to sell a business that is not profitable, and you're dealing with small restaurants and things like that, I mean, those are generally going to sell in that 30 to 100, maybe 120,000 range. I don't see those usually getting up to 200, but again, if it's large, it has if it's a 5,000 square foot restaurant or something with large kitchen and all kinds of stuff in the back, then maybe, I don't know. I mean,
You are
um,
correct. I read recently sold one restaurant, beautiful restaurant, but only $120,000
eh,
because no profit. The same. Yeah, you're right.
yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I would just, I think on that one, you just need to, if the seller thinks that the equipment and all that has more value, maybe you talk him and maybe you say, okay, well, let's get an equipment appraisal then and see what it's actually worth. And have him get an equipment appraisal because, maybe that'll make things clearer. So either it's worth what he wants at 275, in which case now you have a document to support it, or it's not, and now you can go back to the seller and say, well, the equipment appraiser says your equipment is worth $72,000. So let's adjust the price accordingly, right?
He asking that price because that's the price he bought. The equipment
Yeah,
only 40,000 appraisal.
yeah, of
Thank you so much for your advice, Tanya.
course.
Thank you.